Welcome back. Oh my god, where's my music? Oh no. Nope. Nope. Fuck. Here it is. Alright guys, welcome back to Sleep Well Horrors. We're doing another podcast of a live horror story reading. We have 3 stories for you today. We'll get into them in a second. I have to set up the stream really quick. Give me 1 second here. How's everyone's day going so far? Why don't you start? Why don't you start with how your day's been?
It's been pretty good. I'm watching this new show on Apple TV called Presumed Innocent. Have you seen
Oh,
it?
yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I'm not done with it yet, so no spoilers.
Any other shows that you want to talk about?
Have you watched the new Wednesdays? The Wednesday episode? Oh,
Negative.
why not?
I said this last stream, and I'll say it again. It puts me to sleep. I cannot get into the show. I don't like it. That's my take on it.
I don't think you're watching it correctly if it's putting you to sleep.
It's boring. The first season was good. This season is terrible.
It's really good. I like it.
I just don't like it. It's just all cliche and like too Hollywood. I'm not into it. You know what I mean? Like it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of gross. Puts me to sleep. And I'm like waking up and I'm like, oh fuck, I have to rewind it. Slow build. I don't really care about the characters that much.
Not even Wednesday?
I mean, like, yeah, she's the main character. She's cool, but like all the other characters, I don't really care about.
I like Morticia. I want to be just like her when I
Oh
grow
yeah,
up.
well, I like Morticia. That's different. I like her. What's your favorite like part of the show so far?
It's towards the end, but I think it's whenever Wednesday and Enid changed bodies.
I haven't got that far.
They had like a Freaky Friday experience.
That's kind of funny. I you know what? Maybe the next couple. Hold on, I gotta change all this up. Maybe the next couple like episodes will be like better than the first ones because they were fucking not good to me. I did not like them.
Give it a couple more tries.
Okay.
But Presumed Dead is so good.
Is it good?
It's so good. You need to watch it if you have Apple TV.
I do have Apple TV.
You should watch it. It's a limited series. I think there's like eight episodes.
8 episodes, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Maybe I'll give it a look-see. You know, maybe I'll give it a little look. All right.
Should.
I am ready. Right. Welcome everyone who is joining. I see the 2 people in here in the chat. I know it takes me a little bit to set up the stream, and that is just because this thing doesn't allow it, as it's not as easy as some other services. But today's stories, I got a little something prepared here. Hold on, let me pull it up. Okay. Tonight, we've got 3 unsettling tales about haunted trains, internal punishment, and the feeling of being watched. All of Andrea's favorite things.
Yep.
So a couple warm-up questions while we gather people into the stream, so you guys can funnel in. We only got 2 people in the chat, so we're gonna talk a bit before we start here. So. Oh, here's a good one. What's the creepiest place you've ever been at night?
What's the creepiest place you've ever been at night?
No, I'm asking you first. I asked first.
My grandma's house.
Tell them about it, because they don't know why you say that.
My grandma's house on my mom's side is super haunted, and I used to stay there every summer, and I used to never be able to sleep. Unless I had my headphones in. Creepy things. I heard a lot of things. And saw
a lot of creepy things. For me, what was it? What was the question? At night? Creepiest place I've been in at night. That's such a good question. I really don't know. Trying to think. Uh, maybe being out in the woods at night. I've been like lost in the woods at night.
Wait, I can't really hear you.
You can't hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Hold on, that's an issue. Hold on. Microphone. Can you hear me now? Is this better?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm just gonna turn it up a little bit. Hello. Hold on, that's an issue. Oop. Whoa, I don't want to hear myself.
Whoa, what's happening?
What was that about?
I think it was my phone.
Okay. All right. Okay, so sorry, my bad. Probably at night. What about you, chat? Two people watching right now currently? No. All right. Next question. Do you believe? Oh, sorry. Wait, no. Yes. Do you believe in ghosts on trains or stations?
Like that they exist in ghosts at train stations?
That's a weird question. It's a kind of a weird question, right?
Yeah.
Would you? Yeah, that's actually kind of a weird question. I don't know I actually don't know how to respond to that myself.
I believe that there are ghosts in trains and train stations, on trains and in train stations.
Yeah. How many people die on trains a year? How many people die on trains a year? Is my question. What do you think?
Like worldwide?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never thought about that. I don't think they can't be that many, right?
I bet you there's a lot. I bet you people have heart attacks on trains all the time. All right. Anyways, next question. Then we'll get to the story. Wait, what?
Wait. In 2024, the National Safety Council reported 954 railroad deaths, a slight decrease from 2023. Most of them are due to trespassing or
trespassing.
Yeah.
So they get hit by cars or something?
I guess. I don't know. But also highway rail crossing accidents. Very few people die on like passengers. Very few people die like on the train.
Huh.
Never thought about that.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Next question. Feel free to chime in, chat. I swear, like you guys can answer the question too. Like whatever you guys feel like doing. The last question before we go into a story here. Has everyone here ever felt like they were being watched?
Yes.
But like in a creepy way, or just like someone was just like staring at you, or like talking about you?
By a ghost in my room.
Oh. In your current house right now?
No, it's the house I grew up in.
Oh, okay. I felt it a couple times. Sometimes you when you get like a corner of your eye and you think you see something, but you you don't actually see it. Oh, why this is not playing right? Can you hear that?
I can hear now.
So it hasn't been playing this whole time?
No.
Great. Awesome. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the story here. We have two stories. Two short stories before we get to the long one, right? First one. No, we're not gonna do that for the first one. First story. Here's a little setup for you. Next, we wait in line with the damned, unsure what punishment waits at the front. I'm going to have Andrea read this because I wrote this story. I'm the author. So she's gonna read it. I don't want to read it. She's gonna
Okay.
read it the whole thing. Let me go ahead and set up our music here. Hold on. Bang. All right, we're ready for you.
Okay. So this story is called Now Serving the Damned by Michael. A place no one ever wants to spend any amount of time in. A place that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. The wait is agony, and I stand there waiting for whatever torment awaits me, whispering to myself, what have I done to deserve this gruesome punishment? The air is hot and humid, and I can feel the sweat dripping from my body as my clothes stick to my skin, cramped into lines like a can of sardines. What torture could be worse than this? I wait for hours, my back begins to ache, and the soles of my feet burn, then the smell comes. The smell of bodies rotting, the strong musk and odor emanating from everyone's pores. It smells like a corpse that has been decaying for weeks. I become anxious and claustrophobic as I look up at the line. My eyes my eyes play trick on my eyes play tricks on me as I peered forward as the line grows longer than a mile. I think to myself, maybe this is the punishment. Perhaps the torture is the waiting. An endless line is my fate. That's when I hear the screaming. I listen to the screams and pleas of the people ahead of me. Some yell at the top of their lungs only to be silenced by the demons that receive them. Sometimes I could hear crying saying, "This cannot be. I have waited so long," only to be sent to the back of the line. A horror I hoped not to face, a horror worse than the one at the end of the line. I then touch my face only to feel the bag starting to form under my eyes. The coffee does not help. It tastes stale and old, as if it has been 3 days since the last batch was brewed. I cannot stomach it. Its taste is foul and repulsive. I almost vomited, but that would lead to me going to the back of the line, and I could not bear another minute of this torture. I swallow my vomit and keep going. It is finally my time to reach the front of the line, and the demon that awaits gives me a forced smile and says, "Welcome to the DMV. How may I help you?"
So
That was good.
I like that a little like twist at the end. I had to make that story for a project for school, and the project template was describe a place with lots of imagery detail. So I put like a little horror twist on it and made it the DMV. So hope you guys enjoyed that.
That was good. At no moment did I think the DMV.
Did you not think it was gonna be the DMV?
No.
Um, one of my sisters said she goes, I knew it was gonna be the DMV the whole time. I was like, okay, all right, okay, whatever you say, lady. Okay, next story. This story I wrote in particular to scare Andrea. I sent this to her before. I don't know if she remembers it. Uh,
Yes. That was a
but
while ago, though.
I don't know if she remembers or not. But here we go. We're gonna go and do this one as well. It's a short one too. It's pretty like fucking short. So she's also gonna read this one. Um, give her some practice on reading.
You're not wrong. All right.
Okay. So this one is called "I Think Someone's Watching Me Outside My Window." Um, author, yours truly.
All right. Can I start? Okay, I'm going to start. I think someone's watching me outside my window. I haven't been able to sleep in days, and maybe I'm paranoid, but I think someone is watching me. I will start from the beginning. Perhaps it's all in my head. My boyfriend left on a work trip 3 days ago, and I have felt uneasy ever since. Granted, I hate being home alone. We lived in an oversized house for 2 people, but my boyfriend said it was a great deal for 4 bedrooms and 2 full baths. His job pays for the home, so I don't have much to say. The house is old. It was probably built in the 1800s, or at least that's what it seems like. Being alone feels eerie. The house takes a while to settle at night. The sounds keep me up at night, creeping, wind hitting the side of the house, and occasionally thuds like heavy footsteps. But that's not why I have been feeling anxious. For the last 3 nights, I have felt like someone is staring at me through the kitchen window before I go to bed. I usually do all the dishes from dinner before I get into bed. It's one of my favorite windows in the house. It perfectly faces the mountains where no buildings, busy streets, or anything obstructs the view. One of the reasons why we moved to Utah. But lately, the house has just been giving me the creeps. As I look out into the darkness, I feel eyes staring right back. I've always hated that feeling. My boyfriend keeps telling me it's nothing and that I'm just being paranoid. He says, "Calm down, babe. You always get like this when I'm away." He is correct, but this time it feels different. And last night was the worst one yet. As I said, I like to look at the mountains when I wash dishes, but last night it was darker than usual, and I could have sworn I saw a figure. It was the scariest thing. The figure was human-shaped as I know it. It looked like a man's figure, almost like his shoulders rolled forward. I couldn't see a face because he was wearing a hood. Maybe a hoodie or jacket, it was too dark to tell. Anyhow, it scared the crap out of me. I audibly yelped so loud that my cat Jinx jumped on the counter to see what was wrong. She took one look outside. She looked wide eyed out the window as if staring at the figure. When I looked again, the figure was gone. But Jinx kept staring out the window wide eyed and still as a statue. It freaked me out, and eventually I had to snap her out of it. It always creeps me out when animals look at things that aren't there. Anyway, I'm rambling now. The biggest thing is, am I crazy? Is this all in my head, or did I really see someone out there? I can't shake this feeling. My boyfriend will barely talk to me about it and keeps pushing the subject aside, uninterested in my paranoia. I feel so dumb. I'll be alone for at least a month, maybe more. Has anyone ever experienced this? I need some peace of mind to help me get past this. If there are any updates, I'll post them again. Hopefully, I won't have anything more to post though.
And that is the end of the story. I do not remember writing some of this. I know I remember writing some of it, but that's hilarious. Thoughts?
That was a good story.
It's pretty good, right? I was gonna make it into a series, but I kind of gave up on it. It was the
You should.
I didn't it doesn't really need a second part. That's why I ended up not doing it. But I was gonna put a crazy twist on it, where that the person stalking her was gonna be her boyfriend
Break up immediately.
the whole time. It was gonna be her boyfriend, and he was gonna like start like leaving like shit on the porch and like crazy like letters and stuff. But I decided to scrap the project.
You should have done it. You should
I
have
don't know.
kept
I
going.
tried, but I couldn't get the right um like kind of like without it seeming like corny or like when you do like a second one it's not as good. I couldn't figure out a good median, so I just couldn't, so I didn't finish it. I think I did write a part two, but it was terrible, so we're not gonna read it. Okay, hold on.
But animals do always know, so
Yeah, that's why I put that in there. I don't
yeah.
remember. I don't know why I named the cat that.
Jinx.
Yeah. I know why I wrote the story because I was washing dishes one day and I was like, wouldn't it be crazy if there was someone just staring at me through the window? And that's why I wrote the story. Because I was washing dishes and I was like, how crazy would it be?
Did you have the curtains open?
I always have them open because my cat fucks with the curtains and breaks them. So I have to keep them, all my windows are open.
And you kept them open while you were washing the dishes thinking about this story?
Yeah.
I swear I would have been like immediately like imagining somebody out there.
you start seeing hallucinations because your mind's playing tricks on you. That's crazy.
Truly.
Question from the two stories. What do you think is worse? Endless writing or endless waiting or knowing exactly what's coming?
Fuck, I guess it depends. Knowing exactly what's coming.
No, I disagree. I
But
fucking
also
disagree.
I
Endless
guess
waiting is way worse than knowing what's coming because you know what is at the end. So it's like, okay, I can accept what's gonna happen to me. For
no.
waiting, you don't know what's gonna happen.
No, because maybe it's just the way I'm thinking about it, but okay, let's say no. I don't
What?
agree.
No. Okay, tell me why you don't agree.
Well, what if you knew that you were going to get brutally murdered at the end of whatever it was that you were doing?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that be worse to know that's what you were going to do?
No.
Wouldn't you just want to be surprise murdered?
Oh my god, no. I would not want to be surprise murdered, but
I mean, I
also
wouldn't either, but like,
I wouldn't want to be surprise murdered. Okay, and what a crazy thing to say. And no, it's waiting is the worst part because you're like your mind goes to the worst possible scenarios, and you mentally start torturing yourself because you're waiting for so long. That's why I think waiting is worse than just knowing. Because if I know I'm
fair.
gonna die, I mean, you go for the stages of grief. When you're waiting, you're not gonna get that chance.
I guess. Fair, but like,
Good question. That's a good
you
point,
what
right?
if you knew the worst possible thing that was going to happen, like where your mind was going, and like that's what it was. I don't like waiting either. I just want to point that out. I'm just saying
Okay.
that's what I think.
We don't agree.
That's fine.
I
Agree to
respect
disagree.
your opinion, but I disagree.
I don't agree with you.
I don't agree with you. Okay, got it. All right. Next question. How many of you close your curtains before bed, or do you leave the window open to the night? Do you
Who
guys
does that?
keep them open? Do you guys keep curtains open at all times? Like, what do you? What's up, Lucy? How's it going? Welcome to the stream. We're going over some crazy questions. We just read 2 short stories, and you came just in time because we're about to do the full story, the main story. But anyways, as I'll say, um, yeah, I close my curtains at night.
I mean, I close my bedroom door. I close all the. I
don't
don't
do
keep
that.
anything open.
So I have a cat, and I can't. I cannot do that. So, because like if I don't, if because he does, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. He sleeps throughout the whole night. He's a very good cat. He does not disrupt me. He doesn't get up at 3 a.m. and yell. He is very good. He will sleep the whole night, but it takes some time for him to get settled in. So he likes to go in and out of the door and do whatever he's got to do before we go to bed. And if he gets hungry or thirsty at night, he needs to go or to the bathroom. He can just go out my room, right? So I keep that door open. I usually keep it shut, and he didn't mind, but it's just better for it to be open, just in case he ever has an accident. But the curtains, they stay closed. And sometimes he fucks with the curtains, like he likes to look outside at night, and he'll like move the curtain so he can see outside, or he'll open up my closet doors because my closet doors slide, right? He'll open my closet doors up, and I hate that. It's like it freaks me out.
What if that happens next time and it's actually not toasty?
I don't know. I don't know what to do in that situation, to be honest. Anyone else? Anyone in the chat? What do you guys do for the questions? What was it? Would you rather like what was the questions? Fuck. Let me pull them back up. Do
How many of
you
you
Yeah, go ahead.
How many of you close your curtains before bed, or do you leave the windows open to the night?
And then the other question was, do you think it's worse? What do you think is worse? Endless waiting or knowing what exactly is coming? I'm going to fuck up the story so bad today. Cheap followers, get the fuck out of here. Banned.
We need a tiebreaker because I think knowing exactly what's going to happen is worse.
We do need a
and
tiebreaker. Chat, please.
Michael thinks that endless waiting. They're both terrible.
We need a tiebreaker for sure. I think endless waiting is worse than knowing what's going to happen.
I think knowing exactly what's going to happen.
What do you think, Lucy? Let us know. What do you think? What do you think, Shirt Tripper? What do you think? We need a tiebreaker. I think it depends on what you. Oh my god, indifferent answer. Not what we needed. Disregard. Next person. Just joking. Everyone's opinion's valid. Just there's a
Hey.
right and a wrong one.
And I'm correct. Michael's wrong.
Just joking. Um,
See, if something horrible happens,
Endless
if it's
waiting.
something
Okay.
horrible, endless. Oh wait, fuck! I read
Yeah.
that wrong.
Yep, you did.
Well,
Because
no, it's gonna come eventually.
right, but what if? Okay, but you don't understand. Because it
No,
could
you
be
don't.
anything. It could be anything. But if I know exactly what's gonna happen to me, I can go through the stages of grief and just accept it by the time I get there. If I was gonna get shot in the face, let's use this example. If everyone's lined up to get shot in the fucking face, right? I'm like, okay, I'm going to get shot in the face.
But you knew
Perfect.
that was happening.
And then I'm going to, yeah, exactly. And then, I'm like, at first I'm in denial, and then I go into acceptance, and then I just get shot in the face. What's up, Dustin? Absolutely. Endless waiting. See? Tiebreaker, I win.
I don't think you understand.
Because then you never get shot in the face. Exactly.
You would. You still do.
It's endless waiting. It's endless waiting. You're waiting forever. There's no end to it.
Okay. I just wanna just a quick scenario.
Endless
Same.
waiting
It would
anxiety.
also give me anxiety.
That's exactly. So everyone's on my team. That is 3 against 1.
But I don't make. Never mind. I'll take the L.
Okay. All right, moving on. I already live with massive anxiety, so that's no change exactly. Okay. I'm glad that everyone is in agreement here. I'm glad that everyone agrees with me. I win. So let's go ahead and start the main story. All right. Hold on 1 second here.
I'm gonna go give my dog a treat because he's yelling at me. So I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, I jump into the main story and she's gonna feed her dog crazy. Let's see here. We have the next story is called the Shadowlands Express. Is the next story. It is by an author named Mark Lynch. We've read a lot of stories of Mark Lynch. He's a really good author. We read a really awesome hotel horror story with him. It was a 3-parter. And we've read a couple other ones I can't remember the names of, but phenomenal author, really like his stuff. And this is one of his newer stories, so he's gotten better every year, and sooner story that he's done. So I'm pretty excited. This is I forgot to tell him that we're doing the live, but I'll let him know that we recorded. I think he lives in the UK, so I don't know if he can watch. But yeah, that's a story. I think it's about a train. What's everyone's favorite scary movie? While we wait. Give me some good ones here. Paranormal Activity, the first one. Okay. The first one is pretty good. I think that's their best one, to be honest. The first Paranormal Activity, I think, is the best one. And then I think they get kind of corny afterwards. I feel like they kind of go downhill after a while. Correct me if I'm wrong. Beetlejuice? All right, well, that's a horror comedy. I don't know if that can be considered scary. I also like Beetlejuice, though. Phenomenal movie. You're living with your GF. Okay. Well, yeah, that could be scary. There you are. I think my favorite horror movies are Scream. Blair Witch is scary. Blair Witch is really scary. I like Scream. I like all the Scream movies. I think they're pretty good. I don't really know. I don't really consider them really scary, but they are horror genre. The scariest movie I think is
Skeleton.
like Exodus. Skeleton Key is also great. Yes,
It's one of my favorite movies.
that's a great one. Great movie. 10 out of 10. All right. Now that she's back, ooh, well, here's the a little bit of a little background before we start here. Our first story, our last story tonight, takes place on a ghost train where every stop tests the passenger's sins and fears. Some won't make it out to the last station. All right. I wish I didn't read that because I feel like that kind of gave away the story a little bit, but that's okay. And as always, Andrea's going to read first. Hopefully, this has dialogue. We will see. It does have dialogue.
Does it?
It does. And I can pull up my voice changer and see what we can get into.
All right, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. All right, ready you are.
Oh, wait. What are we? The Shadowless Express? That's what we're reading?
Shadowlands Express. Correct.
Oh, Shadowland. What did I say? Doesn't matter. All right. Number 1, the train. I can't say why I was chosen to ride the Shadowlands Express. Why me and not the countless others who have sinned during their mortal lives? Perhaps all will be forced to face their demons in the end. I can't say for sure. But clearly the odyssey I was thrust into was not of my choosing. I wouldn't have boarded the ghost train if I'd known the horrors which lay before me. But despite the terror I've lived through and the people I've lost, I strangely feel like I'm a better man because of it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. There's not much I can tell you about myself. I'm not here to recount my life story. I never thought of myself as a bad person, but I've done bad things which resulted in people getting hurt. I've worked in the corporate world for most of my life and never had a problem with screwing people over to advance my career. My company has a culture of working hard, playing hard, and I was one of the greatest proponents of this hedonist what lifestyle.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait. What? Okay. Oh. Hedonistic lifestyle.
Oh, sure.
On the fateful night when I boarded the express, I had been out of the town, partying and drinking hard before making a mad dash for the last train home. Honestly, I remembered a little about the sequence of events that night, as it all passed by a drunken blur. Wait. Hold on, pause here. First, I didn't put the music on, which is my bad. But also, did he write that one story that we read about the train?
The one that you like?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think he did. Sorry, you guys don't even know what I'm talking about right now, but I'm pretty sure there's a train story about this. I'm pretty sure. I vaguely recall running through an abandoned train station, buying a paper ticket from a dead-eyed attendant, sprinting down the platform and jumping inside the carriage, mere seconds before the door slammed shut. I was panting and sweating by the time I entered the nondescript train carriage, but I felt satisfied because I made it just in the nick of time. I remember smiling as I collapsed down upon a cushioned seat at an empty booth, hearing the whistle being blown as the train slowly pulled away from the platform, gaining speed as it exited the station and proceeded along the tracks. I felt exhausted at the moment, physically drained by the night of drinking, and I dashed to the carriage. I loosened my tie, wiped the sweat off my brow, and tried my best to keep my eyes open. I didn't want to fall asleep because then I'd surely miss my stop. But try as I might, I simply couldn't fight the overcoming urge, and slowly but surely I lost the battle. My eyes closing, and I drifted off into a deep slumber.
I don't know how long I was out for. It could have been minutes or hours, but I guess my sleepy interlude was long enough to allow the sinister powers to work their dark magic. I do remember that I dreamt during that brief slumber. Surreal but surprisingly vivid dreams, which chilled me to my core. I saw my ex-wife in a dark place beyond my reach and suffering alone. Next, I found myself alone in the train carriage, running from end to end but finding no one who could help me. As my nightmare continued, I slammed my fist against the carriage door, screaming as I desperately tried to escape my rolling metal prison. But my efforts were to no avail, and I was trapped inside, alone and afraid. I was awake in an instant, gasping for air as I shot up from my seat. I scanned from side to side, somewhat relieved to find I was still inside the train carriage and had simply suffered a bad dream. I groggily adjusted my eyes to the harsh strip lights, noting how the brightness inside the carriage compared to the darkness outside the carriage windows.
The train was rolling past city streets, but no, not a light could be seen, not on the roads or any of the buildings. This struck me as odd, but I didn't dwell on it that moment. Instead, I pulled myself up off the seat and stumbled down the aisle in search of a conductor. My fear at this point was that I'd miss my stop and would end up stranded at a remote station with no means of getting home. That would have been bad enough, but even as I looked those first cautious steps down the carpeted aisle, I felt that something wasn't right. Call it a sixth sense or a primal fear of terrors long forgotten, but I believe I was in a strange and hostile place. Glancing back and forth, I found that I was alone in the carriage. This was disconcerting, but not necessarily surprising, as I was riding a late night train. The interior was remarkable, quite ordinary. In fact, the interior was unremarkable, quite ordinary. In fact, the blue upholstered soft chairs were set around plastic tables. A tiny speakers and CCTV cameras were visible on the ceiling above me. I could hear the steady mechanical hum of the engine and the movement under my feet as the vehicle sped over onwards. But where we were headed, I could not say.
Didn't he buy? Sorry, didn't he buy a ticket?
No, I don't
You
think.
wouldn't know.
I think it just got on.
Isn't that what they said at the beginning?
I don't think so. I think it just got on.
It was only then I looked out the carriage windows, observing the darkness on either side of the speeding train. I soon confirmed there were no lights emanating from the outside, none whatsoever. Every building and every street were shrouded in darkness, with the only illumination coming from the train itself. I couldn't see any cars or vehicles either. In fact, there were no signs of people on the outside, and it seemed like we were traveling through an abandoned city, devoid of life. How could this be? I asked myself. Perhaps there was a citywide power cut. There was a possibility, but as I stood in the aisle and looked outwards, I began to feel increasingly uneasy as the scenes rolling by changed for the worse. Whereas before I saw tidy streets and well-maintained buildings, before long I was confronted by ruins and crumbling structures, a decaying urban landscape with weeds and vines slowly taking back the land.
I was left godsmacked, my jaw dropping and blood freezing as I observed an ever disintegrating scene. I knew the city had its rundown areas, but nothing like this. I didn't understand what I was seeing or know where I was, and this uncertainty was truly terrifying. I felt so alone in that moment, like I'd been ripped out of the world and dropped somewhere dark, twisted, and bizarre, somewhere I didn't belong. Breaking myself from a fear induced paralysis, I turned away from the window and slowly made my way back down the aisle, heading for the doorway which led to the next carriage. More than anything is that More than anything in that moment, I wanted to find someone else so I wouldn't have to face this nightmare alone. As it happened, I did stumble upon another passenger, but unfortunately, my new companions were just as confused and frightened as I was, and none of us yet knew why we were here. On board the fabled Shadowlands Express.
Part two.
Wait,
The
before we go into part two.
passengers.
Wait, before
Oh,
we
my
go into
bad.
part two,
Sorry.
the last bus is what the story was. Where he got into the bus and all the passengers, there was like rules for all the passengers, like to like not talk to certain ones or interact. Did you remember that one?
Yes. The what with the hellscape one, right? Like not the hellscape, but
That's hilarious, Lucy. Go ahead.
the one where he like got on the bus and like, I don't know, got off somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's like fire in the background.
Yeah.
I think I remember.
Yeah.
Is that by the same author?
I think so.
Okay.
Okay, part 2, The Passengers. Anna was the first person I stumbled across. Hi, Amari. Hello. Sorry, I had to say hi to Lucia's children. Hi.
Is that who Lucy is?
Yeah.
Oh.
Anna was the first person I stumbled across. I don't know whether this was by accident or just by design, but she was in the next carriage along from me, and I stumbled into her as soon as I entered through the connecting door. Anna was a woman in her early 30s, her parents striking even at first sight, and I couldn't help but feel attracted to her despite the precocious oh my goodness. Precocious circumstances. Her skin was dark and hair brunette, and she wore a striped business suit and matching skirt, which made me think she'd come straight from work. I noted how her mascara had run like she's been crying, and her deep brown eyes were filled with passion, but also fear, as she jumped up from her seat and glared at me with suspicion. Go ahead, read this. You're gonna do the female parts today.
All right.
Let me get some emotion, though. I need some emotion in these lines.
Can't do that. I'm shy. Who the hell are you? She demanded whilst backing up defensively.
Okay, well, I need a little bit more than that.
No.
All right, I'll do it. Crying out loud, Jesus! Hold on. Let me get my in the character here. Hold on, actually, I got an idea. I have a voice changer here. Maybe I can do something fun. What does it sound like? Does it sound funny?
No. Sound like you.
Sounds like me.
Yeah.
What? That's impossible. Oh, output. That's why. I understand now. What? Oh, whatever. Who the hell are you?
She demanded whilst backing up defensively. My eyes widened as I tried to understand why she was acting so hostile, and then I thought about it, realizing she was scared and had no idea who I was. And so I held my hands up defensively, trying to appear as non-threatening as possible whilst replying.
Take it easy, love. My name's Simon. I'm just a passenger like you. Fell asleep on my way home. Now I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
The apprehension slowly faded from Anna's brown eyes, and her shoulders relaxed as she breathed a sigh of relief.
Okay, I believe you.
Anna replied slowly, speaking in the aisle as the train sped on past an increasingly bleak landscape.
My name's Anna. I guess I'm in the same boat as you. Caught the last train home, fell asleep, and woke up alone in this carriage.
She paused, looking fearfully out the window towards the ruined city shrouded by darkness.
I saw all this outside and thought I must be losing my mind. Either that, or someone spiked my drink back at the bar. But you see it too, don't you, Simon?
She looked at me hopefully, clearly wanting some validation.
6 ads. Oh my god. Oh. Sorry, Sage. Go ahead. Keep going. Sorry.
She looked at me hopefully, clearly wanting some validation. I glanced out the carriage window, observing the same disturbing scenes as the crumbling buildings turned into ruined foundations, overrun with vegetation, and it seemed the last vestiges of civilization were melting away in front of our eyes. I could no longer deny or attempt to rationalize away this terrifying sight because Anna was experiencing it too.
I see it.
I finally confirmed, nodding my head solemnly as I continued to stare into the abyss. Anna must have decided to trust me as she walked down the carriage aisle and stood beside me, placing her soft hand on my shoulder. Her touch brought me some small comfort in this chilling scenario, and I turned around slowly, looking into her expressive brown eyes and watching her soft lips as she spoke.
Simon? Do you know where we are?
She asked nervously. I don't think Anna held out much hope, and I was destined to disappoint her.
No.
I answered sullenly.
I'm afraid I have no clue.
Anna broke eye contact, removing her hand as she nodded.
Well, we need to find someone who knows what's going on,
she said with newfound determination.
Let's search the other carriages. Find a conductor who can help, or failing that, get to the driver's car and make him stop the train. Yeah, sure, okay then.
I said in agreement, following the woman as we slowly walked towards the doors leading to the next carriage.
I don't think she's I think she's a demon.
You think so?
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't think I think she's malicious.
Okay. I have no idea. I don't have any thoughts on this yet, so.
Okay, go ahead.
We didn't discover any train staff during our search, but we did find another 4 passengers, all of whom were in the same state of confusion and anxiety. First, there was Dennis, a wily and highly strung man in his 40s who was on edge from the moment we met him, ranting, raving, and threatening whoever had put us in this unfortunate situation. Next, we stumbled upon Zoe, a blonde-haired woman with fake nails and eyelashes, her face caked in makeup, and her toned body clad in designer clothes. Zoe had a bad attitude and gave the impression she was above the rest of us.
I cannot wait to voice her.
Jason was a better prospect, however, a tall and muscular man with short hair, firm eyes, and a steady smile. He spoke with some authority, which gave me the impression he'd been in difficult situations before and knew how to keep his cool in a crisis. And finally, we found Iman, a plump middle-aged man who not only seemed harmless, but was also surprisingly unaffected by the craziness, shrugging his shoulders like he was all just a bit of bad luck. Like this was all just a bit of bad luck.
Keep going.
Personality-wise and in appearance, the 6 of us couldn't have been more different. But we were all thrust into this living hell together, and none of us had the slightest idea where we were or why we were here. We didn't find any staff members and couldn't get an answer from the driver's car, the door to which was firmly locked. Our phones were of no use to us. Unsurprisingly, not one of us had a signal, and the train didn't have Wi-Fi. We walked the train carriages from end to end trying to find something, anything which would help. The emergency lever was no use. We pulled it, but the train kept speeding on. Next, Dennis got the idea of using the glass breaker hammer. He promptly obtained the hammer, poising it against the window, ready to smash the safety glass, even though we told him it was pointless as the train was still traveling at considerable speed. Dennis wouldn't listen to us, however, but before he could strike the blow, we were all startled by a disembodied voice calling out to us through the carriage speakers.
Please, sir, I must insist you put the hammer down. Petty vandalism will not be tolerated.
The voice was surprisingly polite, but at the same time authoritative and more than a little sinister. I don't think any of us knew what to think, but the mysterious voice captured our full attention, and even Dennis lowered the hammer and turned his head in astonishment.
And that is the end of part 2. We're going into part 3, the conductor. Anybody have any ideas so far? Going once? Going twice? Actually, let me go grab my drink real quick. Just stay right here.
Oh no. Don't leave me. River Styx, but train? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that could be it. That's a good point. I know that it has to do with the Odyssey, because they mentioned it at the beginning. So maybe it's something with with that going on. I don't know if it's the River of Styx though, because they're not going to Hades. They're being tormented.
What's the River of Styx?
It's like a Greek mythology thing. The boatman takes their souls to Hades, like they cross the River Styx, and if you fall in, you're lost forever. You die. And Achilles was put into the River Styx, but his heel was not put in, so he was indestructible except for his heel. Anyway, someone didn't pay attention in college or school. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Way to call
That's
me out.
That's like we learned that in high school, man.
Oh god.
You didn't read the Odyssey in high school?
Yeah, but
That's
you know
a
how long
while.
ago that was?
Brother. The conductor. Go ahead, start us off.
All right. Part 3, the conductor. We all looked up at the tannoy, all frozen in shock as we waited for the voice to speak again.
No, sir, please set the hammer down on the table. There's a good chap.
The unidentified male voice was being deliberately patronizing, and I didn't expect Dennis to react well, and so I was surprised when my fellow passenger meekly complied with the complied. Jesus. When my fellow passenger meekly complied with the instruction, dropping the glass breaker down with a dual thud. A tense moment of silence followed before Zoe spoke out.
Who the hell are you?
She demanded.
And more importantly, where are you?
Clearly, her question was directed towards the anonymous man communicating through the tannoy. I considered this pointless, as the speaker wasn't a two-way radio, and so surely he couldn't hear us. But once again, I was surprised when the disembodied voice did answer.
Well, madam, I am the conductor, of course. This train and you, the passengers, are my responsibility. And where I am, you ask? I'm right here, where I've always been, riding the Shadowlands Express. This train is my home, and always will be.
His reply was cryptic and oddly chilling. I was left speechless whilst trying to understand the meaning behind the conductor's words, but Zoe talked back through clenched teeth.
There is no conductor on board the train.
She snarled.
We've searched every carriage end to end.
The conductor responded with the dry chuckle.
I don't like Zoe. Zoe's a fucking piece of shit. She's a piece of work. Sorry. I forgot there's kids watching. I assure you, madam, I am here. You may not be able to see my physical presence, but I can see and hear everything that occurs on board.
A cold chill went up my spine upon hearing those words. I think Zoe had a similar feeling, as her eyes widened in shock before she looked down at her expensive heeled shoes. Jason was next to speak out. I noticed how he'd picked up the safety hammer which Dennis dropped, and when Jason spoke, his voice sounded calm and composed.
Well, you have brought us here. What do you want from us?
Jason had asked what we were all thinking, although I certainly feared hearing the answer. But the conductor once again used cryptic language which was open to interpretation.
Good sir, I have not brought you here. You all boarded this train voluntarily. If you'd paid attention to the signs, you would have realized this wasn't a conventional service. But let me say this, every one of you is here for a reason. I would do a British accent because this is a UK author, but I cannot do it. So we're gonna go country. Creepy. Yeah, it is hella creepy. The thing is, mate, we all just want to go home.
He was right, of course, but somehow I doubted it would be that simple. There seemed to be some regret in the conductor's voice when he replied.
Understandable, sir. Very understandable. I wish it was in my power to bring each and one of you home right this instant. But alas, this is not possible. I cannot guarantee the outcome of this journey, but I can promise you two things. Firstly, none of you will be physically harmed on board my train. In these carriages, you are safe. Secondly, there is no path home for each and every one of you, but the journey will be long and arduous, and all passengers will be tested.
He let that statement hang in the air as the six of us shared a worried look. The fear inside that tight train carriage was palpable, and even Jason seemed uneasy. None of us really understood what was happening, and we all sensed a great danger. The disembodied conductor was the only one with any answers, but he wasn't willing to provide them, at least not yet. Instead, he signed off for the night.
I suggest you all try to get some rest.
The conductor suggested.
We have a long way to go, and many challenges to face. You are free to move between the carriages, but please do not attempt to exit the train. This is not physically possible, and may result in injury or even death. I would also advise you not to look out the windows for prolonged periods. You will likely be disturbed by what you see out there. But of course, this is your choice. I think that's all for now. I will speak with you again tomorrow and provide details of your first test. Good night, all.
And with that, the speaker went silent, and the conductor could not answer, no matter how many times we shouted and screamed in the attempt to get his attention. Eventually, we settled down, sitting together in the middle carriage as we tried to come to terms with our insane situation. We talked for some time, exchanging outlandish theories on what might be. The most persuasive argument was that we'd been placed inside some kind of twisted experiment, and perhaps we were hallucinating due to a psychedelic gas or drug. This seemed unlikely, but just about plausible. The other possibilities discussed including alien abduction or a descent into purgatory. I found the last option particularly chilling. Were we all dead? I didn't think so. I still felt alive and had the same urges, feelings, and bodily functions.
Thankfully, there was a functional toilet on our speeding phantom train. We had 3 plastic bottles between the 6 of us, which we could fill with water from the tap. Except Zoe refused to share with her bottle, and Dennis insisted on drinking straight from the tap. There was no food on board the train, however, and this would become a problem the longer our journey dragged on. The conductor had told us not to look out the carriage windows. Good advice, but easier said than done. As the night went on, the ruined city was replaced by a dark forest with tall trees on either side of the tracks. The vast wooded area went on for mile after mile, and the forest wasn't empty. Every now and then, we caught glimpses of dark shadows moving between the trees, large unidentified creatures shaken from their slumber by the passing train. This was disconnected, but worse. Sorry, this was disconcerting, but worse still were the red eyes we occasionally saw, eyes burning in the dark and glaring menacingly at our carriages, watching us until we sped out of the sight. This is exactly like the last bus, right?
Yeah, I'm
gonna go look it up. You go ahead and take over reading. I'm curious.
All right. I can't speak for the others, but these sightings terrified me. I tried to avoid looking out the window as much as possible, but my gaze was often drawn to the black abyss. It was Anna who made the discovery, which cast some light on our situation. She examined the ticket she'd bought at the station and found a message printed on the back. As it turned out, we all had a proverb or other communication written on the rear of our paper tickets, all unique and apparently personalized. We did not share our messages with the group, at least not on the first night, but I believe we were all shaken after reading those written words, perhaps even more than the terrors we witnessed outside the windows. I can only speak for my own proverb, which read, "A false witness will not go unpunished, and pours out light." Sorry, let me start that. A false witness will not go unpunished, and whoever pours out lies will not go free. I struggled to control my emotions as I read those words again and again. I couldn't say for sure yet, but I had an idea of why I was here. Part 4, the platform. None of us slept much that night. I did finally drop.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
None of us slept much that night. I did finally drop off due to the sheer exhaustion, only to be plagued by dark and vivid nightmares. Awakening with a jolt, I found my companion still asleep, with the exception of Iman, who was looking out the window with an intense curiosity. I quickly noted that it was now morning, with the rising sun shining through the carriage window. I was relieved at first, as part of me had feared the morning would never come, but I felt less certain once I realized we were still traveling through a dense forest of seemingly endless trees, with no apparent signs of civilization. It's been like this since dawn. Eamon, you want to read this part?
Yeah, sorry. I can't find the link. Iman, let's see. It's been like this since dawn.
I think it's an old man.
Oh. It's been like this since dawn. I can't do it. Keep going.
I hope. Iman explained in almost wonderment without turning away from the window.
No towns or villages, no people, no other trains or vehicles, just an endless track with trees on either side of us.
He paused briefly to let those words and their terrifying implications sink in.
By my reckoning, we've been traveling for between 8 to 10 hours at a constant speed of 50 to 55 miles per hour. We should have reached the coast hours ago, but I guess the geography on this world is different than ours.
I felt a sickening rising from the pit of my stomach, my eyes widening as I stared at Iman in disbelief before the turning towards the glass. I'm sorry.
Puppy said, I want to be loud. Where is this the last bus? Yep, I was right. I was right.
Is it the same story?
Same author, yeah.
Okay. I don't know where I left off.
I felt sickness.
I felt a sickness rising from the pit of my stomach, my eyes widening as I stared at Iman in disbelief before turning towards the glass and staring out into the abyss. The vast forest wasn't quite as intimidating during the daylight hours. Nevertheless, there was an eerie quality to those towering trees, a surreal and almost mythical feeling that awoke something primal inside of me. Am I still reading?
Mm-hmm.
As crazy as it sounded, I believed Iman was right. We weren't in the home counties anymore. In fact, the train seemed to have left our dimension, bringing us to another world with its own rules and unique dangers. Thankfully, we did eventually reach the end of the forest later that morning, although our situation did not improve. The dense woods were replaced by mile after mile of rolling green hills, desolate, windswept, and seemingly empty moors set under the grim gray skies.
Keep going.
We didn't pass through any settlements during the long first day. The most we saw were the occasional stone cottages. The most we saw was the occasional stone cottage set upon an isolated hillside. Most appeared abandoned, but occasionally we spotted figures standing behind the windows or in doorways. Dead-eyed farmers and their families dressed in rags and observing our train as it sped past. And all stood solemn and silent, like they were watching a funeral procession. That's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Every 50 miles or so, we passed a platform. Our train never stopped or even slowed down. And there didn't seem to be. Michael, where'd you go? Michael? Oh my god. Where'd you go? Okay. The first couple of platforms we flew past were empty, but a solitary figure was standing on the third. An elderly woman with disheveled white hair, wrinkled skin, and wearing a blood red dress. I remember the cold chill I experienced when I first saw her, a deep terror which I couldn't fully explain. We all watched her in silence through the carriage windows, noting the twisted smile on her lips as she followed our progress along the tracks, lifting her arm to wave at us in an act of horrifying mockery. We called this woman the Hag, and we must have seen her at least a dozen times during our long journey.
Oh.
It's kind of creepy.
Oh.
Yeah. The hag always stood alone on the platform and watched our train roll by. Sometimes she stood in a silent vigil, other times she smiled and waved. But the worst occasions were when the hag reacted with hostility to our presence, running along the platform with pure hatred in her eyes while screaming obscenities which we could not hear. I don't know whether it was the same woman every time or a series of doppelgangers.
Yep.
It shouldn't have been physically possible for an elderly woman to travel hundreds of miles in mere hours, but the recognized laws of physics didn't seem to apply in this world. The hag stopped appearing as we approached sundown, only to be replaced by an even more sinister figure. As the light faded, we were confronted by a hooded man who stood upon the passing platforms, a figure dressed from head to toe in dark robes with his face covered. We call this chilling entity the Harbinger, although I
Yep.
feared he
Same
might
characters.
represent something even darker.
Yeah, same characters. If after this stream, if you guys are still wanting to know more about this story, that we did do a story called The Last Bus. It's pre-recorded and it's in videos. I highly recommend it. It's a really good story. Um, the what?
Was the Harbinger the one that had the dog?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So really good, really good. I like how this guy expanded the world. That's pretty cool. We never saw his face because it was covered by his hood. Still, we sensed the Harbinger was closely observing our progress to this realm, and he wasn't alone. The Harbinger was always accompanied by a huge white dog, more like a wolf in actual face, which he kept on tight leash. While the Harbinger always remained still and silent, his mutt barked manically at the train, struggling against the chains, her eyes burning with hatred and hunger, and with a maw filled with razor-sharp fangs. That day was filled with terror and paranoia. As my fellow passengers and I were pushed close to breaking point, I don't recall all the conversations we had in between those terrifying interludes. We tried to make plans but could find no solutions. There was some talk of our lives back home, about families, friends, pets, hobbies, and jobs, about what we missed and wanted to get back to, although some were more willing to share personal details than others. I saw the best and worst of my companions in those long hours. Jason revealed he was a former soldier and he continued to try and take charge in this chaos, although, in a practical sense, he was effectively powerless. Dennis was continually on edge and prone to angry outbursts, which made him increasingly unpopular within our small group. Zoe wasn't much better, spoiled and entitled. She kept insisting that she shouldn't be here, as if any of us had a choice. By contrast, Iman barely spoke at all, instead silently staring out the window like he was mesmerized by the bizarre sights beyond the carriage. I began to think that Anna and I were the only sane people on board. We continued to bond and became closer despite the extreme stress of our situation.
Do you don't still think that she's a demon?
I don't know.
Okay. We made several attempts to gain the conductor's attention throughout the day, frequently shouting into the speakers, but to no avail. The conductor ignored us throughout the day, only speaking to us again after dusk, when he communicated the instructions for our first test.
Good evening, passengers.
The conductor suddenly exclaimed, his chilling voice booming through the PA systems. We all jumped up, startled by the sudden intrusion.
Hold on. Actually, I have something for this. Why do you keep applying the lip balm?
Because my lips get dry.
I mean, I get that. My mouth gets pretty dry by breathing.
And it's all over my cup because every time I drink, it kind of goes away.
Let's see here. I have something for this. Oh, sorry. Where the hell have you been?
Dennis snared angrily, but the conductor simply ignored him, continuing what seemed to be a pre-prepared script.
We will soon be arriving at our first stop. Your instructions are simple, but must be followed to the letter. All passengers must leave the carriage and step onto the platform. Once you disembark, you will be found provisions waiting for you. Feel free to stock up on food and drink. When you have done so, you must stay on the platform and await further instructions. Do not leave the platform under any circumstances. I hope this is clear, and I look forward to welcoming you back on the carriage once this business is settled. Good luck.
You should have been using that this whole time.
That's why I had to back out. My mic was wrong.
That was it, the message in full, and the conductor wouldn't answer our frantic demands for further information. We wondered whether this was a trick, but sure enough, our train did begin to slow before finally coming to a halt beside a dimly lit platform. The carriage door shot open, but none of us moved an inch. Fear encountered my companion's eyes as the cold air from the outside hit us. In a sense, this was what we all wanted. The train had finally stopped after a non-stop journey over hundreds of miles, and the carriage doors were open, but still none of us were in a hurry to disembark. not given the horrors we'd witnessed outside the train's windows. The conductor had given us clear and simple instructions, but how could we trust him? Still, there was an added incentive to step onto the platform. At the far end of the elevated walkway, we could see 2 vending machines stocked with crisps, chocolates, processed foods, soft drinks, and bottled water. We had water on the train, but no food, and hunger was starting to hit home. We debated for some time over whether to disembark and eventually voted in favor of this action. As Jason put it,
"This conductor or whoever is running this thing, they hold all the cards. We need to follow their rules, at least for the time being. But sooner or later, they'll slip up, and then we'll have our opportunity."
Jason was the first to step off the train, closely followed by Dennis and then the rest of us. It was a cold night, and the chill hit us after the relative comfort on the carriage. I also picked up on a foul smell in the air, a stench which seemed familiar but I couldn't quite place. But our prime focus was on reaching the vending machines. We didn't need to insert money and could take as much food as we wanted. Once we tasted the produce and realized it wasn't poison, we filled our hands and bags of supplies, stocking up on as much as we could carry, because there was no way of telling how long we'd be trapped on board the Phantom train. With this task completed, we stood and waited, warily glancing towards the dark trees beyond the lit up platform as we waited for further instruction.
"What now?"
I asked, addressing my question
shit,
to
my bad.
Jason.
Sorry. That's a different voice.
Okay.
"What now?"
I asked, addressing my question to Jason.
"We wait for our orders, just like it told us."
Was a stern answer.
"To hell with that." Oh wait, no, this is Dennis. "To hell with that."
This was Dennis, and his blood was up again, his eyes filled with something close to madness.
"You need to calm down, mate,"
Jason said firmly, whilst looking Dennis square in the eye, but it was to no avail.
"I won't calm down. No fucking way,"
Dennis screamed.
"You people are all nuts. You want to let that voice tell you what to do? Not me, mate. I'm stepping off and going home." "No, Dennis.
Anna cried in distress.
We don't know what's out there."
But Dennis simply scoffed dismissively.
"I'll take my chances. No way I'm getting back on that fucking train."
I moved towards Dennis, intending to physically restrain him if necessary, but Jason stopped me from doing so, placing a firm hand on my shoulder and shaking his head in the negative. A moment later, and Dennis was off the end of the platform and sprinting into the forest, but he didn't make it far. We didn't witness our companion's grisly death. Thankfully, it was too dark to see, but we did hear every horrific detail as the slaughter played out in the blackness. First came the low animalistic growl, followed by a chilling scream from Dennis as he surely realized he'd made a terrible mistake. Damn. A violent rustling came from the bushes. Dennis continued to scream frantically as the growly. No, what am I reading? A violent rustling came from the bushes. Dennis continued to scream frantically as the growling beast tore into him with teeth and claws, ripping flesh and cracking bones. Mercifully, it was soon over, as Dennis stopped screaming and all we could hear was the sound of a body slowly being dragged away.
"Oh my god,"
Zoe exclaimed with tears of terror rolling down her cheeks. A moment of shocked silence followed before the speakers attached to the platform's lamps burst to life.
"The first test has now concluded. Please return to the train without delay."
It was the conductor's voice, and we all obeyed, quickly jumping back on board the carriage before the doors shut and the train started to move forward, leaving the cursed platform behind. 6 of us disembarked, and only 5 had gone back on board, with the reckless Dennis devoured by the beast. We all sat in stunned silence for some time as the train sped ever onwards. Eventually, the conductor provided an explanation of sorts.
Alas, Dennis is no more. He merely needed to obey the instructions, but instead he tried to run. Perhaps, not surprising, in life, Dennis never held down a job, and he abandoned his wife and children. Running away was always in his nature.
Then why
God
That's you.
damn.
Yeah, that's rough.
"Then why test him?"
Anna responded angrily.
You knew what he'd do, so what's the point?
On the contrary, madam,
The conductor replied coolly.
I had no prior knowledge of what Dennis would do. His actions may have been predictable, but Dennis had free will, as do all of you. You should bear this in mind during the trials to come.
None of us had anything to say to that. The five of us sitting in wordless and fearful contemplation as our grim odyssey continued.
And that is the end of part 4.
Part
Damn!
5.
That fucking conductor, he said he left his wife and children. What should you expect? Dude's a savage. That's crazy. Demon talk over. Demon took over, yeah. Okay. The station house is the next part. What is the
Part 5.
What does the speaker sound like when I do like the conductor?
When what?
When I do the conductor, voice changer, how's it sound?
It sounds good. You should do that more. Like that. Good.
Oh, cool. Continue.
Part 5, the station house. You want to read? You want me to read?
Okay, I need a break. The second day passed by
Love
pretty
it.
much like the first night turned to day, and dense forest was once again replaced by rolling hills. We continued to see the entities on many of the platforms we sped past. This old hag became more aggressive, chasing the train as far as the end of the platform, screaming blue murder with pure, unadulterated hatred in her dark eyes. The Harbinger remained silent, although his presence was increasingly sinister, with his eyeless glare burning through us. And then there was the hellhound barking menacingly with a murderous rage. We couldn't help but notice the fresh blood pouring from the creature's canine's fanged-filled mouth. You think that's Dennis's blood? Probably.
Probably.
After a while, we stopped looking out the window entirely. Although we found little solace inside the speeding train, Dennis's death had hit us hard. We now realized how dangerous this place truly was. Hope began to fade, and I wonder whether any of us would make it home. I split into groups during the day. We split into groups during the day, sitting in separate carriages and barely interacting. Surprisingly, Jason and Zoe formed a partnership, despite their differences in personality and background. I think Zoe wanted a strong man who would protect her, and perhaps Jason needed someone to protect. Okay. Anna and I stayed close, holding each other as we slept and talked throughout the long day. I don't wish to share all we said and did while alone together. Some things should remain private, brother. Jesus. Oh man. But Anna brought my comfort during those hellish hours, and I think, hellish hours, and I like to think I returned the favor. We all know what they were doing.
How long have they been there? I thought it was like 2 days.
We all know what they were doing.
And finally, there was the enigmatic Iman, who occupied a carriage by himself, still refusing to engage with the group. A familiar pattern emerged. Can you hear my dog in the background?
Yes, but keep going.
Sorry. A familiar pattern emerged as the PA system remained silent until nightfall, bursting to life after dusk as the conductor communicated the instructions for our second test.
Good evening, passengers. I trust you all have had a comfortable day's travel.
I noticed how the conductor's tone sounded less enthusiastic and more subdued than it had previously been, but the ordeal was draining for him too.
We will shortly be stopping at the station house. Here, you all will face your next challenge. You should proceed into the lobby. There you will find 5 doors, one marked for each of you. Inside, you will discover the reason why you are here, facing your past sins in the first step toward redemption. Those of you who pass this test may re-embark for the final leg of our journey. I wish you good luck.
Anna and I shared a look of fearful apprehension as the train began to slow.
Do we have to do this?
Anna asked nervously.
I think so.
I answered whilst taking her hand. And then the train stopped, and when the train stopped, we cautiously stepped off into the platform, joining our companions as the five of us were faced with this fresh horror. The station house was dimly illuminated by the lamps on the platform, and there was a faint light shining within. The house was a red brick building with a slate tiled roof. It looked Victorian in design and could have been abandoned for decades, although at the same time, the structure appeared well maintained, with no visible signs of deterioration.
Deterioration.
Wow, yeah, or decay on the outside. The five of us stood on the platform for a long moment, staring at the red brick house in terrified awe, like it had some kind of dark power over us. I think we all knew we had to step inside. It seemed there was no other choice. Still, I feared what we'd encounter on the other side of these ominous walls. It seemed like we all shared the same apprehension, all except for the ever bizarre Iman, who stepped forward and marched towards the heavy front doors, slowly turning the handle and stepping inside. The rest of us shared a look. Anna shook her head, tears in her eyes as she made a last-ditch attempt to persuade me not to enter. Perhaps she was right, but in that moment I felt I needed to be strong for both of us. So I took her hand and we marched forward towards the open door. Jason and Zoe followed in our tracks, and soon all five of us were inside the lobby. I jumped as the front door slammed shut behind us. Jason ran back, struggling with the handle before turning back to us in frustration.
It's locked,
he confirmed solemnly. Somehow I wasn't surprised. With no way to exit, we were forced to survey our grim surroundings.
I'll take
The
some.
station.
There's a lot of There's a lot of text before the dialogue hits.
Okay.
The station house appeared larger on the inside than it looked on the outside. I couldn't say whether this was an optical illusion or the result of black magic. In any event, I forgot all about everything else when I glanced over to the far side of the lobby and saw 5 wooden doors, each marked with a name crudely written in dark red chalk. Jason, Zoe, Iman, Anna, and Simon. 1 doorway for each of us, me included. It was the strangest thing because in that moment, none of us said a word, and not one of us fought the unnatural urge to walk toward our signed doors and face whatever lay within. I looked to Anna as we walked side by side, but she didn't meet my eye. And perhaps she no longer needed me. My hand shook as I reached for the handle, slowly sliding the door open and stepping inside. I can't say exactly what my 4 companions experienced inside their own rooms, although I can hazard a guess based on the dark revelations that were later confessed. All I can describe is my own experience, a descent into my personal hell as my worst moments flashed in front of my eyes. Because what lay behind that door wasn't a room in a conventional sense. Rather, it was a journey into my sordid past, a mirror used to reflect my ugliest side and shine light on my worst sins. The good times came first, reminders of what I lost, I'd rather thrown away. I relived the first date I had with Kate, as vivid and real as when I first experienced it, all those years ago. More images flashed in front of my eyes, reigniting emotions I'd long since tried to bury. First time we made love, our wedding day, and how beautiful she looked, Will walking down the aisle in her stunning white dress. But then came the bad times, the complacency I had for my marriage in the early days, as I worked late every night and left my Kate home alone. And next was the affair, the first illicit kiss with Cassandra at the office party, the night we spent together while away at that conference.
It was gut-wrenching to see my moments of weakness played out again, except it was worse this time because I could see how it was for Kate, how much it hurt her. When she found out about my betrayal, her heart broke into 2. Kate broke down after the divorce, and I saw it all inside that hellish room. The excessive drinking, the suicide...
Oh, I can't say that.
Sorry. The excessive drinking, the unaliving attempt, and finally the forced stay in a psychiatric hospital. Back in the real world, I didn't go go to see her, not even once. But now I saw it all. Kate sitting alone in a locked room, heavily medicated, her skin pale and her eyes devoid of passion or hope. She was a shell of her former self, and all because of what I'd done. I felt physically sick by the time it was over, stumbling out of the room and back into the lobby. Judging by the shaken looks on the faces of my companions, I guess we'd all had to face our personal demons in those damn rooms. But there was one person missing. Zoe hadn't exited her room and her door was still shut. As if on cue, we heard a high-pitched scream emanating from the other side of the door as Zoe desperately cried out for help. Jason jumped into action, slamming his shoulder against the locked door with all his might. Anna and I joined in, and somehow we broke inside. But what we witnessed in that room was horrifying. Set against the far wall was what I can only describe as a portal. So sorry.
Yelling.
He's howling out there.
Yeah.
Like right outside my door. I'm sorry. Set against the far wall was what I can only describe as a portal, a swirling vortex of crimson red, burning fiercely and leading to God knows where. A hideous arm extended from the vortex, a black appendage with sharp claws which held a tight grip on its victim. And of course, the victim was Zoe. The woman was down on the ground, her eyes filled with dread as she screamed out for help. Jason darted forward and reached out for her hand, but it was already too late. The claw dug deep into Zoe's exposed leg, pulling her rapidly towards the portal. I'll always remember the final look in the woman's eyes, the sheer, unadulterated terror as she was dragged, kicking and screaming, into hell. It was all over before we could do a thing, as Zoe disappeared into the vortex and the portal promptly vanished into thin air, leaving us staring at a blank wall in the empty room, barely able to comprehend what we'd just witnessed. 5 minutes after the horror and we were back on the train. What else could we do? I was almost broken by what we'd experienced in that damned station house. I believe my companions felt the same, or at least Jason and Anna did. We sat together in the middle carriage, remaining silent as the train slowly pulled away from the platform before gaining speed. A tense moment passed before the tannoy sounded and the conductor spoke.
5 entered and only 4 passengers returned. A shame, but perhaps not unexpected.
Jason's face screwed up with raw anger as he jumped off his seat and removed a concealed weapon from his jacket pocket.
You fucking bastard!
He cried, directing the fury towards the carriage speaker.
You sent her to die!
But before we could stop him, Jason used a safety hammer to strike the speaker, smashing it into pieces in an act of vandalism born through grief and frustration. But this action proved entirely futile because the invisible conductor could still speak to us, his voice clear and composed as he answered his aggression.
Please, sir, I am a tolerant man, but I have my limits.
Jason stood defiant for a moment, but the anger soon faded from his red face, and he meekly sat back down whilst returning the hammer to his pocket.
Thank you, sir.
The conductor said, as clearly as he could see and hear everything.
Your grief for your friend is understandable. But, as I've already said, my role here is simply to facilitate your journey. I am not responsible for whatever happens beyond the carriage doors.
But, why Zoe?
Anna asked emotionally.
We all went into the rooms, but the rest of us walked away. Why was she taken?
The answer is quite simple. All of you were confronted by your past sins, and the 4 of you shared genuine guilt, shame, and remorse over your actions, but not Zoe. She married an old and wealthy man she didn't love, waited until he died so she could claim his fortune, but in the end, she could not acknowledge her wrongdoing, and that's why Zoe failed the test.
Dang.
None of us had a word to say, huh? You said gold digger. None of us had a word to say after that. This outcome was madness as far as I was concerned. Sure, Zoe was a gold digger and she'd done a shitty thing, but was her sin bad enough for her soul to be condemned? And what was the point of this insane odyssey anyway? Did any of us have a chance of making it home, or would the sadists who ran this dark realm pick us off one by one? The conductor remained silent, and I doubted we'd get the answers we needed from him. But all of us had secrets, me included, and I thought now was the time for those difficult conversations. My throat was dry and my voice trembled, but I forced myself to speak the words.
We all had visions in those rooms, visions of our past sins.
I began whilst attempting to meet my companion's eyes.
I'm not proud of what I lived back there, but I'm willing to tell my sordid tale. I think we all need to know why we're here. Knowledge is power, and sharing our pain must just help us get home.
I looked to my companions and noted the initial horror which came over Jason and Anna, but eventually they accepted the wisdom behind my suggestion and reluctantly agreed to share their dirty laundry. Not so with Iman. He didn't respond at all to my suggestion, continuing to stare out the window as if he hadn't even heard me. Nevertheless, I decided to lead by example, recounting the shameful account of my affair and abandonment of my wife. I closely watched Anna's reaction once I finished my story. She didn't say anything, but I swore I could see the disgust in Anna's eyes and believed she had lost respect for me. But as it happened, my female companion had her own dark secret to reveal.
I was driving home from work on a Thursday night.
She began, her voice monotone and eyes facing downwards.
I was tired and distracted, sending a text instead of paying attention to the road.
She sighed deeply before continuing as tears returned to her brown eyes.
I didn't see the red light and hit the other car head on. I was lucky. My airbag deployed and I walked away with barely a scratch. The other driver was not so lucky. She was left paralyzed from the waist down and will spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. The judge went easy on me. A suspended sentence and driving ban. I guess I got lucky again. Well, at least until now.
She glanced up at me, her eyes red and bloodshot as she forced a nervous smile. I guess Anna wanted some reassurance, but I had nothing to say in that moment, and I broke off eye contact. Jason's account was next, his tough exterior cracking as he emotionally opened up.
I was on my second tour in Helmand province.
Explained the troubled veteran.
We got intelligence that a Taliban bomb maker was hiding in the local house, and so we executed a dawn raid. I headed to a bedroom upstairs, saw some movement out of the corner of my eye, and reacted on instinct, turning and shooting. It was only then that I realized what I had done.
He took a deep breath, mustering up the courage to finish his tragic tale.
I killed a kid. A boy, maybe 11 or even 12 years old. Unarmed and an innocent child. I'll never forget the look on his mother's face as she cradled her boy's still warm body. The raw grief and the anger, she cursed me to hell. The OC made the incident go away. Collateral damage. That's what they called it. I never faced any charges, but I couldn't go back to combat after that. They gave me a medical discharge and sent me home. But that boy, what I did, it will haunt me to my grave.
Jason looked at the carriage window mournfully, lost in his trauma and guilt. I wanted to say something, but once again couldn't find the words. Instead, I turned my attention to the ever-distant Iman, needing to slam my fist on the table to get his attention.
Hey, mate!
I exclaimed whilst meeting Iman's unfocused, bloodshot eyes.
You need to talk to us. The only way we'll get through this is we work it together.
It was a cliched line, but true nonetheless. But Iman was having none of it. He scoffed in contempt, jumping up from his seat and pushing his way out into the aisle. He began to stomp angrily towards the next carriage, but before doing so, Iman turned and met my eye, snarling as he delivered a cryptic and ominous message.
I don't know what I've done. And I know what I need. Sorry, read that wrong. I know what I've done. And I know what I need to do to set things right. That's all you'll get from me.
And with that, Iman barged out of his carriage, leaving the three of us sitting in mournful silence as our phantom train continued to speed through the darkened hellscape. And that was part 5.
Whew! That's a pretty intense part right there. Holy shit. Well, like the war one was. The other ones were like,
I mean, still bad.
yeah, it was pretty bad, I guess. The Dark City, Part 6.
It rained heavily all of the third day, from dawn to dusk and into the long night before we reached our final destination. The bad weather only added to the misery of our increasingly grim situation. Our morale was broken, and the four of us were physically separated, each sitting alone in our own carriages. Anna and I tried to reconnect after the revelations the night before, but we were unable to do so. Why was there suddenly a divide between us? I couldn't say for sure, but my guess was that we were both ashamed. In any event, day 3 was the worst yet. The hag did not appear during the daylight hours, and the platform she previously occupied remained empty. Again, I don't know why she left us. Perhaps her purpose had been fulfilled, or maybe her warnings had fallen on deaf ears. The Harbinger was still there somehow, his black robe somehow shielding him from the torrential rain as his soaked dog barked by his side. The dark entity seemed more prominent and intimidating on the third day, and I feared he would play a central role in our ultimate fate. The guilt, the constant rain, and the chilling visions would have been bad enough, but the train decided to introduce a terrifying new element to the mix. As usual, the conductor didn't speak with us during the daytime, but others did. Disembodied voices echoed through the carriages. 2 voices, in fact, one male, one female. They sounded familiar, and soon I made the connection. It was Dennis and Zoe. The 2 lost passengers were calling out to us from whatever hellscape they'd exiled to. For hours, I was forced to listen my former companion's sporadic screams and pleas for mercy as they were subjected to unseen tortures. But worse still were the periods when Dennis and Zoe were lucid, and they spoke fondly of their fellow passengers on the Shadowlands Express. Sometimes they called us out by name, telling us that we'd meet again soon. In the end, we all congregated on the middle carriage as darkness fell, if only because we needed to support each other in the face of these many terrors. Even Imam seemed shaken by the voices, and I believed he may be willing to work with us. I can't decide how reveled. I can't describe how reveled I was to hear the conductor's voice coming through the tannoy shortly after dusk, although predictably, he didn't have good news for us.
Good evening, passengers. We will shortly be approaching our final stop, Central Station in the Dark City. This train will terminate here. Please ensure that you take all personal possessions with you when you disembark. I thank you all for riding the Shadowlands Express.
We all looked at each other in astonishment, hardly believing what we just heard.
What the hell does that mean? Oh, sorry. What the hell does that mean?
Anna exclaimed in shock.
No, this isn't right.
I proclaimed, my angry frustration boiling to the surface.
You told us that we'd get home if we followed the rules.
There was a pause, and I swear I could hear a deep sigh from the other side of the line before the conductor eventually answered.
That isn't exactly what I said, sir. But I owe you an explanation, nonetheless. I promised you would be safe on board my train, but our journey ends here. You should make your way to the next station on the other side of the city to catch the connecting service. Consider this your third and final test.
We all glanced out the window.
That's weird because he said the final test was going to be the door one, so he lied.
I feel like we can't really trust him. Anyways. Yeah. We all glanced out the window, noting how the dark woods were now replaced by bleak concrete buildings illuminated by harsh artificial lights.
So, that's it then? We're on our own?
Anna asked fearfully.
I'm afraid so, madam.
The conductor replied with some regret evident in his voice.
I wish I could do more, but I am a humble servant and my place is here. The most I can offer you is advice. Remember what you've learned here. Watch your backs and follow the signs. I wish you good luck.
That was the last we ever heard from the enigmatic conductor as the speakers went silent for the last time. The train drove past empty streets and grim buildings before eventually arriving at the so-called central station. But instead of a busy terminus one might have expected, we instead saw only empty, rain-swept platforms devoid of other trains or even a single passenger. We came to a slow stop alongside platform 1 and the doors swung open, exposing us to the cold and damp outside. We all sat perfectly still for a moment, unsure of what to do next. As hellish as our journey had been, the train served as a safe haven, at least compared to the horrors beyond its doors. And every time we disembarked, someone had died. We had no idea what dangers lurked out on the streets of this dark city, but whatever lay out there, it was surely our destiny, and we had no choice but to face it.
Probably gonna be Amon's gonna be the one that dies next. He's probably gonna sacrifice himself or something.
You think so?
Yeah.
All right. We'll see.
Amon was the first to step off onto the wet platform, followed by Jason, then Anna, and finally me. I took one last mournful glance at the Shadowlands Express before the doors slammed shut and we proceeded down the walkway. The station interior was clean, well lit, sterile, and entirely abandoned. We cautiously walked across the tile floor, observing the empty ticket kiosks and vacant commercial stalls. We all noted the sign hanging over the building next exit, which read, "This way to Nexus Station." The conductor had told us to follow the signs, and Nexus was where we would catch our connecting train. In that moment, Jason regained some of his former strength and is attempted to take charge of the situation. Okay, guys, we don't know what's outside those doors, but we must be prepared to defend ourselves. We need to search the station and find anything we can use as weapons.
Anna and I looked at each other in concern, but Iman leapt into action, searching an empty food stall and soon unveiling a sharp kitchen knife.
Good man,
Jason said with a nod before turning towards Anna and I.
Now we need to.
Jason never got a chance to finish a sentence. Iman moved so fast that we didn't even have time to shout a warning. He charged Jason from behind, brutally stabbing him in the back without a second's hesitation. Jason squealed in shocked pain as Iman pulled the knife out. The ex-soldier swung around, grabbing Iman by the throat in an attempt to throttle him. But Iman stabbed Jason again and again in the stomach and chest, spilling his blood on the white tiles. Jason looked to us with shocked and pain in his pale face as he collapsed and died on the blood-soaked floor.
What the fuck have you done? No, I did not either. That's crazy.
Anna screamed.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Iman looked up with the wild fury in his dark eyes and the bloodied knife still in his left hand.
I told you last night. I know what I have to do to set things right. I've known from the very start. It said so on my ticket. Slay every sinner, and you will walk free.
With that, the killer stepped over Jason's body and marched towards us with the murderous intent. I could see there was no reasoning with Iman. He lost his mind and would kill again without hesitation. And so I did the only thing I could think of in that moment. I grabbed hold of Anna's hand and we ran together, sprinting out the station exit and onto the rain-swept streets. Anna and I took in little of the dark city as we sprinted down the pavements with the heavy rain falling on our heads and the psychotic Iman in hot pursuit. Still, I suspect there was little we'd wished to see. The city was grim and austere to an almost absurd extent, consisting largely of ugly tower blocks and empty storefronts, with every building constructed in the brutalistic style. There were no monuments, parks, or even trees, nothing that would give this ominous contribution even a shred of identity. But the city was virtually, but perhaps not entirely, abandoned. There were no pedestrians or vehicles on the streets, but occasionally we spotted the dark silhouettes of anonymous figures standing in upper windows and glaring down upon us. We had no knowledge of the city's geography or even its size, but the signs were clear and constant, and when we were directed towards Nexus Station during our mad dash through the puddles and gutters. We dared not stop because Iman was surely on our tail, just waiting for his opportunity to strike. And that was part 6.
Part 6.
Now part 7.
Okay.
I think that's the last part.
Yeah, it's and I think it's pretty long. Yeah. Nope, I keep going up by accident. I think it's like not too bad. Pretty short. Yeah, there's not too much left. Okay. The return ticket, part 7. What's everyone thinking so far?
I like it.
Live unstable. Interesting. I like it so far too. I mean I like the first one that he did, so I obviously like this one.
Yeah. So you still think Anna's a demon?
I don't know. I don't think so. Now that we've like he changed it up, so I thought it was gonna be similar to his first one, but it's actually different, so which is good.
And also, going back to one of the questions I had earlier, they did buy a ticket. They all bought their own ticket.
Yeah, so
which is crazy.
Yeah, they
where
must
were
have
they
got it before they
going?
got on. Yeah. Okay. Let's jump in here. I didn't know how long we ran through those dark, swept streets, following the signpost with a slime hope of salvation. Might have covered miles in our mad dash, always fearing the lay behind each corner. I had a distinct feeling that Amon wasn't the only one hunting us. But both Anna and I both experienced elation when we sprinted down a lonely back street and saw the promised train station before us, its entrance clearly marked with a sign reading Nexus. We were so close, but of course, salvation wasn't so easy. Anna slipped in a puddle and I leaned over to assist her. We hadn't seen or heard Amon for some time and hoped we'd lost him in the dark city's maze-like streets. But he was right on our tail, biding his time before launching his attack. Saw him charging through the rain, a crazed look in his eyes as he screamed like a berserker and raised his knife to strike. Anna was still down and vulnerable, and so I had to act. I blocked Amon's path, hoping I could overpower him and force the knife from his hand. But Amon collided with my body with great force, knocking me down onto the pavement. He stood over me with the knife in hand, ready to plunge the blade into my chest. I doubt I could have stopped him, but thankfully Anna intervened. She pushed the attacker back and tried to grab his knife, but instead Amon slashed her across the stomach. Anna screamed, her eyes filling with shock and pain as her blood fell to the pavement and was washed into the gutter. She was hurt but had bought me time, and so I pulled myself up and struck out Amon, punching him hard in the face.
Iman squealed as he stumbled backwards, blood pouring from his nose. He was hurt but not down, and now the killer had a reason to be angry. I watched fearfully as Iman's eyes narrowed and he tightened his grip on the knife's handle. He made to launch another murderous attack, but never got the chance. I saw a blur of movement in the corner of my eye, a white beast tearing across the street in lightning assault. Iman had no time to react before the hellhound hit him from behind, knocking him to the pavement before biting deep into his exposed neck. Iman screamed, squirmed, and fought, but to no avail, as the beast tore his throat out and spilled his blood on the roadside where it was swept into the gutters by the rainwater. I spotted Iman's discarded knife and reached down to grab it. I then went to Anna's aid whilst the hound finished off its prey. As I helped the wounded Anna to her feet, I looked past the bloody scene and saw the harbinger standing at the far end of the street, his black robe somehow dry despite the heavy rain, and his piercing eyeless gaze focused upon us. The harbinger had sent his killer dog to finish Iman, but he surely hadn't done so to save us. I knew Anna and I would be next, so I took my wounded companion's hand and we ran towards the sanctuary of Nexus Station. We made it inside, savoring the shelter from the relentless deluge? The kiosk was unattended, but I noticed 2 tickets sitting on the counter waiting for us. This couldn't be a coincidence, and so Anna and I grasped a hold of the paper slips and proceeded inside the station, Anna groaning in pain as I helped her walk forward. What we found were 2 platforms connected by an elevated footbridge. The closest platform already had a train waiting, its engine running, and carriage doors open. Salvation was so close, but we heard a manic barking just behind us. I glanced over my shoulder as we ran down the platform, seeing the hellhound charging towards us with Iman's fresh blood dripping from her fangs. You want me to keep reading? You want to
Get over here!
We reached the... Caught me off guard. We reached the carriage door, but the hound was right on top of us. I made a split-second decision, shoving Anna inside just before the doors automatically closed. Anna cried out my name and slammed her bloodied hands on the carriage window, but I turned away from her to face my attacker. The hound jumped me, knocking me down to the platform whilst crawling at my chest. The beast went for my throat, but fortunately, I still had the knife, which I used to frantically stab the dog in her side. The mutt yelped in pain, ending her attack and retreating down the platform, bleeding as she went. I watched fearfully from the ground, noting how the Harbinger stood at the far end of the platform, always watching but not intervening. His hound retreated behind her master, licking her wounds. Damn, I know it was like a demon dog, but like, come on.
What?
Don't hurt it.
Oh my god. I had an opportunity to save myself and I was determined to take it, but when I tried to board the carriage, I found the doors were still closed. The train was now moving, slowly but surely making its way down the platform. I looked through the carriage window and saw Anna on the other side, bleeding and crying as she called out my name. We were so close, yet couldn't reach each other. My heart was broken in that moment, but at least Anna was safe. I lost her gaze as the train pulled away, and then I was left alone on the platform with my assailants. I expected a second and probably fatal attack, but to my surprise, the Harbinger stood still, with the wounded and now docile hound by his side. It didn't attack, but the Harbinger and his dog still blocked the platform. The train was gone, and so there was only one place I could go, across the footbridge and over to the far platform. So I made my way onto the bridge, clutching the claw wounds on my chest as I struggled with every step. But I fought through the pain and got to the far side, glancing weirdly back to the first platform where the Harbinger still stood. I had nowhere left to go, but salvation came when I had but given up hope. As I looked up the tracks and saw the bright headlights of a second train approaching from the opposite direction, announcing its arrival with a blaring horn. I stood on the dark platform, awestruck as the empty train came to a stop in front of me before its doors swung open. I only hesitated for a second before stepping on board. I had no idea where the train was headed or what it had in store for me, but I reckon anywhere was better than here. And the loop continues.
And so I embarked, nervously sitting at a table and looking back at the Harbinger, feeling his burning glare upon me as he watched me leave his hellish realm. Because a moment later, the train pulled away from the station and sped down the tracks. I've been traveling for a few hours now, and the signs are good. We left the bleak, dark city behind long ago before hurtling through many miles of forest. But now I can see an actual city, with cars, people, and all the signs of bustling civilization which I've missed so much over the last 3 days. Holy shit, that was only 3 days? Hold on.
Seems like a lot longer.
I am hurt and almost broken, but I'm almost home. There are many unanswered questions rattling around my head. Why was I chosen to write? And more importantly, why had I survived when others hadn't? What was the Shadowlands Express? Who controlled it and for what purpose? But one question takes prominence over all others. Where is Anna? Did her train take her home, or has she been transported somewhere else to another hell beyond? I don't have the answers, not yet, but I won't rest until I'm reunited with Anna and I know she's safe. The end.
This is a great story. I liked it a lot. I don't like it as much as the first one, but I do like it.
I wonder if there's a third one. Is this like a second one? The second
This is the
story
second
too?
one.
Okay.
This is awesome. I really like this. What do y'all think? I liked it because like, oh my god, they're missing out on so much because like it's good as a standalone, right? Because if you didn't know about the first story, this still plays really good because it's like still something new and different from the first one. But knowing the first one, The Last Bus, and then reading this, it expands the universe and makes it like all much more that much better for me reading it. I really recommend everyone who's watching to watch our podcast of that story as well, because it's really good. Or even just reading it. If you don't want to watch us again, just read the story. It's really good.
That was good. I liked it.
I was hoping that the Harbinger was going to have a have some dialogue, but it didn't.
I was not expecting that.
Oh man.
You need to give me like a heads up.
Never. I'm never gonna give you a heads up.
That was good.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I like the story. I really like this author to begin with, so this is great for me. I liked it a lot. I'm trying to see what the comments are saying here. It's not working for me. River. Wait, what?
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, there's no new comments. But yeah, thanks for watching. We got some couple closing things here before we close up. Hold on, let me pull it up real quick. Here we go. Some closeouts here. How many of you? Oh wait, hold on. It's up here. Would you? All right. Real talk. Would you guys step on a train if you saw it waiting at an empty station?
No.
Super like late at night.
No.
Some random train. You gotta get home.
Am I by myself?
Yeah.
No.
You know, I'm just not going home that night.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm
take my
doing because
chances.
staying out there also sounds kind of creepy, but no.
All right. Which story? Which out of the 3 stories was the most chilling for tonight? The most scary story?
Well, I like your someone's watching me story.
Okay.
I thought that was creepy because it would be really creepy to see somebody outside your window, which
Also,
seems more plausible than like a train leading you to hell. But
right,
also,
one of your fears is stalking too. So
exactly. So that for me personally, that's the creepiest one.
I can't really like rate that one because I wrote them. So
You can still rate it.
I guess. I mean, this one was pretty creepy. I don't know. I mean, we really gotta find a story that actually like kind of like scares me.
No.
Like, most of the time, like you get pretty freaked out. I have not yet to be freaked out. A really good story that we should read is called Feed the Pigs. Feed the Pig. It is great. It is a really good story, and I would really like to see a reaction on it. Really good. But most of the stories that we read on the podcast we have never read before, and there's a few that I have read, but she hasn't, so I will read them. Out of how are we ranking them? Like, what's the out of 3?
Out of 3.
Out of like in order, like 1 to 3.
Like top 3?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Somebody's Watching Me, number 1, and then the
Shadowlands?
The Shadowlands, yeah.
Okay.
Number 2, and then the D&V waiting
That's
story,
very
number
funny.
3.
The hellish. I liked yeah, I would agree with that. And then yeah, I mean, out of like me sleeping well, I'm probably sleeping pretty sound tonight. I'm probably not gonna have any nightmares. What
I
about
think
you?
I'll be maybe fine.
I think I'm at like a 4. Not even a 4, maybe like a 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10? I would probably say like a 2.5.
Okay.
Maybe 3.
That means 4 or 5, guys.
Unless if I keep my windows open on accident or whatever, then it might be like a...
That means 4 out of 5. That means
Yeah.
5 out of 10. All right.
Cool.
Well, that does conclude our story. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for sticking around. For everyone who did see the end of it. We are gonna do more of this, obviously, as you know, every week we're gonna have new stories that we're gonna procure. But until then,
Until next time, sleep well. See you guys.